I was born to run, I was born to travel. It's another day alive, raising hell and slanging gravel.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. And this is part 3, exterior rear, of this series, Is My General Lee Show Correct? Don't forget to check out part 1, where we do the exterior front, part 2, where we do the graphics, wheels, and the paint color. And let's go ahead and jump right into part 3, this exterior rear, and I'll show you what all is and isn't show correct on my General Lee. Now, as you can see here, there's going to be several elements we're going to go over here at the back of the car. Now, the first element I want to touch on is this right here. This is the Charger logo. Now, remember, in the previous videos, we mentioned that there's one of these on the headlight door, and I told you my plans with that in that video. And then also on the sail panel here, they removed these Charger logos, and if you had a special edition Charger, we would remove the special edition logo from the sail panel. So, same thing here. I'm going to eventually have to remove this Charger logo from the back of the trunk, from the back of the taillight panel, I mean, and that will make it show correct. So currently on this Charger, mine is not show correct. But again, once I have it painted and all that stuff, I'll have them remove that and put metal back and fill in the holes where the emblem goes and all that good stuff. And then, of course, the next element we want to go over here is the trunk lock. Now, I'm going to keep mine like this, but later on, I can't remember what episode or what season or when they started doing this, but they would actually install a trunk popper next to it. They would drill a hole next to that and keep that lock mechanism there, but then the actors could just walk up, push a button, and pop the trunk open without having to fumble for the keys like you would in real life. So, but I'm going to keep mine normal, and for the General Lees, I want to replicate that I'm using as inspiration. It actually didn't have the trunk popper anyway, so I'm good on that account. So in that sense, mine is show correct. But if you're doing a later era General Lee, you might want to consider using a trunk popper and installing that if you want it to be that show correct. So anyway, as we zoom out here, you can also see the tail lights. Now these are my favorite tail lights on any car ever in the history of the world. I don't know why. I just absolutely love these tail lights. And a 1970 Charger, again, which they didn't use any of those on the show. They didn't use any 1970 Chargers, but you can see here how the tail panel on a 70 Charger, the trim, instead of it being two separate pieces, they're still two separate tail lights, but they're connected in the center. So that's one of the differences on the 69 and 70 Charger. And but anyway, you want to make sure your Charger looks like this on the back end. Now, they did use 68 Chargers on the show, but just like I mentioned in part 1, the exterior front, when we looked at the 1969 Charger grill, now mine is actually a 1969 Charger, but if you use a 1968 Charger, you need to put a 1969 Charger grill in it, like we discussed again in the first video in this series. But you also need to put this 1969 Dodge Charger taillight panel in it, because the 68 actually looks like exhaust tips sticking out the back, which is really cool, and I love that design as well. I think it's really awesome looking. But on those, the backup lights are in between the tail lights. As you can see here in this picture, you can see where the reverse lights are located. And now when you zoom in down here, these are the reverse lights on the 1969 Charger. They're cut out into the rear valence panel. Now here's what it looks like on a 68 Charger. It's just smooth, and there's no cutouts for these lights, and that's because, again, they were up in the taillight assembly on a 1968. So if you see a General A speeding by your screen when you're watching the series and there's no reverse lights on the back, then you can rest assured it was a 68 converted to a 1969. Now, for the General Lees I'm going to replicate, especially Lee 3, it was a true 1969 Charger, so it had the reverse lights. And plus I like them better down there on the rear valence for a 1969. So anyway, I'm going to keep that. So in that sense, mine is show correct. Now, another element is the license plate here. So this license plate is correct for the early Georgia cars. You can notice that by the registration sticker and the way the license plate itself actually looks. They used multiple license plates throughout the series and multiple registration stickers. I've got two of them. I've got the one they use after this too. It has a yellow registration sticker on it and a few other differences there as well. Um, I'll eventually do a video on the different license plates used throughout the series on the General Lees. So I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I definitely will in the future if that's something you guys would like to go over. When I do the General Lee Element series, or maybe how to build a General Lee series, maybe I'll go over that and give you the options and let you know what era they were used in and all that stuff. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below. Now, the next element I want to cover is the CB antenna. So now this CB antenna is the correct one for the early General Lees. They used different ones throughout the series run. This is my favorite one. They call it the teardrop base antenna. It's actually a Radio Shack part number 21-908A, and they're very difficult to find. Now, this one I got from Raymond Kahn. I pronounced his name wrong previously, and Raymond, I'm sorry if you're watching. It's Raymond Kahn. You spell it Kohn. It's pronounced like John, he told me, so that's great. So I messed that up in one of the first videos, pronounced it cone. So so anyway, his name's Raymond Kahn. But if you check with his group, the Northeast Ohio Dukes, I'll have a link to their page below. But check periodically at their site or message them on their Facebook page. They generally, pardon the pun, they generally get these in and they'll have them available to purchase. So I got mine. I couldn't be happier with it. But this is the correct CB antenna for the early Georgia cars. Now, when I get to the interior, which is the next video in this series, I'll cover the CB radio as well, which is a Cobra 78X, and that's actually correct for these early cars. They also use different CB radios as well. So so anyway, so on as far as the license plate goes, and as far as the CB goes, CB antenna goes, on this charger, my General Lee is show correct for a Georgia era build, which is really cool. And there you have it. So as far as the exterior rear of my General Lee, everything on it is currently show correct for the era I'm trying to shoot for, except removing the Charger logo in between the taillights on the taillight panel. All right, everybody, don't forget to like and then share this content with people you think will find it valuable or helpful. And always hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way, when we do drop part 4, you'll be notified instantly. You can check it out as soon as it drops. That way it's fresh right out of the box. That's a wrap on part 3 of Is My General Lee Show Correct? And we covered the exterior rear. Don't forget to check out part 1, which is the exterior front. Part 2, where we cover the graphics, wheels, and paint. And don't forget to check out part 4, where we check out the interior. And until next time, keep it between the ditches.